When I turn on the news and I hear of an 11-year-old committing suicide, my heart wrenches. I cannot even imagine being that age and consider taking my own life. You may have heard of this story. It is the story of Jaheim Herrera. He was a student at Dunair Elementary School in Stone Mountain, Georgia. One day, he came home after school, went to his room, and he ended his life because he had been called gay and snitch at school. Unfortunately, there are too many stories similar to Jaheim's. The frequency of these suicides in 2010 bothers me because they were related to the bullying of these young people. The purpose of my speech today is to communicate the alarming statistics related to the bullying of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or LGBT for short, youth, and the resources that can be of assistance. Why is there cause for alarm? It is imperative to know the risks that have been determined for LGBT youth. Statistics show that these kids do not feel safe at school and endure harassment. Over a 10-year period, more than 7,000 LGBT students were surveyed. The results are 8 in 10 have been verbally harassed, 4 in 10 have been physically harassed, 6 in 10 felt unsafe at school, and 1 in 5 was the victim of physical assault. Almost 85% of LGBT and questioning teenagers are harassed in high school due to their orientation, with 61% of these youth reporting that they felt unsafe in school, and 30% reporting that they had stayed at home to avoid bullying. It is important to know that LGBT youth are up to 4 times more likely to commit suicide than their heterosexual peers. These are not just statistics, they are people. Seth Walsh was a 13-year-old who committed suicide due to bullying. Seth had told his mother about the bullying, who in turn spoke to the vice principal. The bullying did not end, and Seth ended his life. Eric Mohat is another example of a young man who took his life because of being harassed and bullied at school. Eric was told, "Why don't you go home and shoot yourself? No one will miss you." The affable teenager was called gay, fag, homo, queer, often in front of his teachers. Eric listened to his bully. He shot himself. But from the rain there comes a rainbow. So now there are organizations that are staunchly fighting for our youth to make them feel safe and alive. Our young people need to know that there are places to go, organizations to call, and people who care as an alternative of the isolation of dealing with bullying on their own. The Trevor Project is determined to end suicide among LGBT and questioning youth. It provides a hotline 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Each year, tens of thousands of calls are fielded as a confidential service to those in need around the country. Trevor Chat is a free, secure online messaging service that provides and helps through its website, thetrevorproject.org. It Gets Better grew into a viral video movement starting in September of 2010. The idea began to spread a message of hope, a vision of future of happiness using 3 simple words: it gets better. The movement targets the young LGBT kids to garner hope when needed. It gains support with inclusion of athletes, celebrities, and other organizations to share a message of hope and a belief in something to live for. The Stand Up Foundation is a brand new foundation of 2011. This foundation inspires me personally because it originates from a professional rugby player, Ben Cohen, who retired from the sport to pursue a foundation targeting anti-bullying. Ben is using his status as a professional rugby player of 10 years to encourage tolerance instead of bullying. Ben just recently launched his foundation with the acceptance tour with stops including Atlanta, New York, and DC. How did we get to this point today? Unfortunately, it took losing several precious lives to get us to examine the way we think and feel about bullying. This issue has been around for a very long time and will not be gone soon enough. Remember, the numbers are more than statistics. LGBT youth are humans who deserve a chance to live a life as they choose, not as others influence. There are organizations there to help, but the word must be spread so that they know there's help when they need it. I encourage you to stand up against bullying.